Okay. All right. Wow. Hello. Oh, nothing crazy going on down there. Nothing. Just a lot of wires. I'm just underneath the PC. Consider that like one of the weird video intros that I needed to do just to maybe get you a little interested. Be like, whoa, what's going on here? Nothing really. I needed to start the video somehow. I don't know. So I had a whole other video planned out about Dragon Age. I wrote it and everything, had it all planned out. I was even getting ready to record it. I was even getting in that customary pre-video snooze in. I gotta get well rested so that way I can kind of give you that energy you're expecting, which is kind of a mixture between, oh yeah, I'm excited, but also like, this is just how my normal demeanor is, so. And if I don't get that rest, I end up looking like a Breaking Bad character in Better Call Saul. Same guy, but clearly something is just a little bit off, and you know what it is. You put them side by side, you kind of go, huh? So I'm getting ready, and then we get one of the biggest leaks yet surrounding Dragon Age Dreadwolf. The first look at gameplay, as well as some of the first details about the game. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to sit here and show you the gameplay, and I'm not going to link it either. I trust the infinite power that you have in the palm of your fingertips, in your hands, your little handies there, to figure out where it is and maybe look at it if you so choose to. If you can't find it, man, that does suck. But let me say this. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Last thing though, it goes without saying, but as with all leaks, unofficial information like this should be taken with a grain of salt. If it ends up being incorrect or we are duped in some way, just remember, we don't know what we don't know, okay? Cool? All right. Personally, I think one of the easiest ways to do this is to just break down the details shared on this little Reddit thread that was well shared. I don't think describing the gameplay snippet at all is useful here. It's really like an 8-second snippet of some sword and shield combat. It doesn't look terrible, looks pretty good actually, some cool abilities that are shown, and it definitely looks like Dragon Age, at least in its art, but I digress. From what is shown here and what is described here, the entire gameplay is set within the Grey Warden Fortress HQ of Weishaupt. That's what the location text literally says in the video. Weishaupt is a location in Anderfels. We don't know much about the story of Dreadwolf beyond the involvement of a character we grew familiar with in Inquisition, and honestly, I'll be straight up with you, I haven't played those DLCs for Inquisition, so I'm not up to date if there's any indication of what the next game's gonna be about, so have at me for that. But there's no indication really beyond that, as far as I know, what it's going to be about. So this might be the first indication of what is going on. Kind of involves or implies the involvement of Grey Wardens, or we're going to be playing as a Grey Warden or adjacent to it. To be perfectly clear, I know the broad strokes of what to expect in the Dreadwolf story, as in we can glean some of it based on those DLCs for Inquisition, as well as some of the marketing we have gotten from BioWare, what little there was. But when I say we don't know what it's about, I think it's clear that there's a lot that we don't know about the story, and I don't think these leaks paint a specific enough picture of what we'll be doing in the game, or who we're going to be playing as, or the characters we're going to be surrounding ourselves with. I know it might suck to have the game be seen in this unfinished state as a developer. This kind of stuff sucks because, the leaker describes these skyboxes not having much detail, or enemies not having much textures, and I want to get into these details that we get from this gameplay video that this person saw, because they're all rather interesting, and some of it is backed up by that little snippet of gameplay, so there's definitely some basis there to back this stuff up. It doesn't just come out of nowhere, of course. Combat is completely in real time and similar to a hack and slash. I'm told the guiding reference point was God of War 2018, and that shows. Player has their regular combo attack and then their abilities, as well as a special bar, which generates, allowing you to pull off a special move. I really don't understand the comparison to Final Fantasy XV's wheel. It's the standard Dragon Age ability wheel. There was no party control demonstrated. I think it's a safe bet to say you will not be able to directly control your party members in the game. That said, you will likely be able to tell them to execute certain abilities, but apparently that was locked off in the alpha. Okay, let's stop here. There's going to be a lot of opinions on those things, I'll be honest. I love Dragon Age. I love Dragon Age Origins. One thing I think we all need to do and acknowledge here, or at least I do, at least I think so, I never fully felt that they nailed Dragon Age's combat. I'm gonna be honest. Origins was kind of slow, tactical, but when you play it today, it's a little clunky. It's still, to me, a lot of other people, of course, the best Dragon Age game, but it hasn't aged well. Now, Mr. EA, if you're listening to this, Mr. John EA, if you've graced us with this brilliant remake and Dead Space, now it's time. Dragon Age Origins, baby. Come on. Then you have Dragon Age 2, a little bit more actiony, felt a little twitchy if I remember correctly, just kind of like button mashy. And then Inquisition felt like they got a little bit closer to Origins, but somewhere in the middle between Origins and Dragon Age 2. Felt like that original vision being more realized, but it just never felt quite there. But I'm telling you this as someone who is not a Dragon Age absolutist or a purist. I won't die for these series. I'm more of a Mass Effect guy. I won't die for it. There's not a lot of things I would die for. Maybe Yvonne Strahovski. But more likely, I would probably die an unrelated death and then make sure whoever read my eulogy or did my eulogy mentioned that it was all for her. I'm willing to accept change if it's good. God of War's combat is great. Is that good for Dragon Age though? I really don't know. In this small gameplay clip, you can see that influence for sure, and then an ability to be used of some kind. I would guess similar to previous Dragon Age games with that whole ability wheel or the ability hotbar, whatever it is, but maybe more active abilities you can kind of use in more real time. And again, I say, I feel kind of neutral about this. This is so preliminary, but I think if this is the next evolution of Dragon Age's combat, it might just be another one of those touch and go things if it kind of pans out in the way that they want or that it's described here. Looks okay and sounds okay, or at least it reads okay. Yeah, I can't really hear it. You know what I mean. So make of all of that what you will. On the part of possibly not being able to control companions, I think that's not a deal breaker for me, not the end of the world. I'll definitely get over it, but that always felt like a uniquely Dragon Age thing to me. You have games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age releasing in between each other during their lifespans. So you have the original Mass Effect and Dragon Age Origins, then Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age 2, yada yada, and so on and so on. So in some way they have similar animations, it even shared little things between each other, maybe some shared little assets here and there. And something that always made Dragon Age for me stand out from Mass Effect in the gameplay is where you could use your companions. I mean, among other things. I just mean that's a specific stylistic thing with Dragon Age is the companions. Now, I'm sure if this does go the way where you can't switch to companions or play as them in combat or gameplay, I like to believe it's for a good reason. Maybe to focus on some other gameplay or focus on making your character, your player character, feel good to control. It's still a bummer. I'm not discounting that. It sucks if that's how it's gonna go, but it's fine. I guess we can move on from it. The most immediate thing you notice is that animation quality has drastically improved. Like for any other AAA title, it's probably not that big of a deal, but we've never seen animation quality this good in any BioWare game. I didn't actually play it, but I can tell it probably feels good to control your character. No more stiff animations, it's all very fluid and seems also very responsive. This has been a thing with BioWare of old. I think when we played that first Mass Effect game in 2007, we were kind of just excited and more impressed that you could kind of interact in real time in conversation, see your character talk, and the other characters would kind of in real time respond and shake their head and move their hand and do slight facial gestures and make gestures. Dragon Age had the same thing going for it, except whatever the hell they were thinking here. Like, my God, like this is still horrific. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. But going back to those games, you realize how they definitely have a charm to them, but are most certainly not modern. The small gameplay there does seem to imply they really went out of their way to kind of make these animations look good or even great. And honestly, they do. I really do hope this is accurate to the game in some way because so far so good. I'm kind of excited to see how the game looks in a modern BioWare sense because we've never really got that. I mean, Anthem's the closest you got, but it wasn't really modern feeling, I guess. Jumping has also been retained, so rejoice if you enjoyed jumping a lot in Dragon Age Inquisition. As the character was a sword and shield dude, he was able to parry attacks from enemies and follow up with counters. It's hard to tell their exact abilities, they only had 2 on hotkeys, along with a special attack. But one appears to basically be a dropkick and the other's a charged sword attack. I'm not sure exactly what the special attack does. The description there is where you can kind of get that God of War 2018 influence or idea. You can maybe in Dragon Age Dreadwolf have a wheel of abilities, but then also just map certain ones to a hotkey of sorts and then get one special attack of sorts. Not much to say there, of course, but it is interesting to see Dragon Age take kind of a hint from God of War 2018 of all games. Not the worst place to take influence, I guess, because Dragon Age, or God of War rather, is a great game, but it's just not one that I would think that would be the go-to for the combat's biggest influence. I mean, one is a single player RPG and one is kind of like an action adventure with RPG elements. The UI is similar to Dragon Age Inquisition, but this is also alpha, and UI is the last thing finalized in any game. Character has a chest slot, a helmet slot, a primary weapon slot, and a shield. Secondary weapon slot. For accessories, 1 amulet slot, 1 belt slot, and 2 ring slots. Oh, and the player character's hair looked gorgeous. I mean, it was clipping right through their helmet, but it was flowing and bouncing as they moved. Finally, no more stiff-ass hair. Now, let's hope we have more than just 2 black hairstyles. Enemies were pretty much just variations of Darkspawn except the dragon, but again, they seem to have red lyrium powers. So that's more or less all the details we got from this leak, aside from the gameplay and a couple other things. I think a lot of this sounds kind of promising. I don't want to get too hyped over what may not be factual or confirmed just yet, but regardless, we do have some interesting things to talk about or think about. Clearly, we kind of hope the game looks great. I mean, from what I saw, it does look visually pretty cool, even though it's kind of probably in an alpha state. Though the person here is careful to note that there's still not a lot of stuff that's completed or finished. One of the things that they mentioned there, it being the UI. I would imagine this is not the final UI like they said. I mean, we've seen games and previews have very different UI by the final release, so I probably wouldn't hang my hat on that 100%. The red lyrium stuff is interesting. Now remember, red lyrium is used by Templars to fight magical threats and demons and whatever. Overexposure causes weird powers and weird things to happen and abilities to form, and eventually kind of overtake the body and crystallize, even its final stages of overexposure. So it has infected the Darkspawn here, it seems. In Dreadwolf, it can maybe give us some insight into it and even more enemy variety in gameplay. Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson also gave us some details about Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and to say some of it is more concerning to me than even the gameplay leaks were, well, the long and short of it is this. Remember, Dragon Age Dreadwolf was going to be a live service game, a multiplayer game. Multiplayer elements, live service elements, and it wasn't until recently that EA said, you know, this whole live service thing you guys are going for, it didn't work out with Anthem. If it isn't working here, maybe you guys should try a single player game. To which BioWare probably said something like this. The part that could be a problem though is that supposedly in the current build of the game, you can still feel that shell of those live service elements at play. Tom Henderson writes in Insider Gaming, 2 sources have revealed that some of those multiplayer components are still sensed to some degree in the current build of the game, with one source saying, the game felt a bit like Destiny with a central hub where players could probably regroup before heading into the next mission. The game's hub though, will still play a vital role in Dreadwolf in its single player format. Unless they can hide it well enough between now and release, it would not be out of pocket for anyone to suggest that it may in some instances with this game feel like a live service or multiplayer game with all those features ripped out. Great, because fuck live service, but also it means we may feel some of that through the game, which is to me more problematic than anything else here. Aside from that, Henderson confirmed some more details saying the game will probably feature a gameplay loop similar to that of its predecessors. Dreadwolf follows a similar gameplay loop to its predecessors, which will involve recruiting and growing your crew, whom you'll encounter by completing missions. Your recruited crew will populate your hub, where you can give them different pieces of equipment and modifications as you progress throughout the game. It's understood that you'll be able to move from your hub to missions by passing through a mirrored portal. Not much changing there, of course, and I guess that's good if nothing else here was encouraging to you. At least that's kind of a similar thread through all the Dragon Age games and even Mass Effect to an extent, having this external threat that you can't face alone, so you build an army of sorts to deal with it. Finally, he corroborates a lot of this leak by saying that Dragon Age Dreadwolf reportedly does feel more like a hack and slash game than previous Dragon Age games, and backs up the claim that you can't control party members in combat, again from all these leaks. This is a lot of speculation and just insider sources that we don't know and can't independently verify, or at least I can't, but considering it's coming from multiple places, this information, I would wager a lot of this could be entirely accurate when we get the official announcement and information. We also got indirect confirmation that Dreadwolf is 100% single player, which is great news. I may have said in a video, I may not have, I frequently don't remember things that I say, but EA does their greedy, shitty moves like recently shutting down Apex Legends Mobile with no refunds. Hey, you know, fuck you. But then they do awesome things recently like Jedi Fallen Order, Dead Space, Legendary Edition, It Takes Two, or Lost in Random, just to name a few. I'm glad they seem to have gotten the message that I think we need to send to all companies, at least on some level. Granted, it's not as simple as this will sound, but make a good game, and perhaps people will flock to it. It's obviously and unfortunately not that simple, but start there as your base, and you can make a case that I should go and spend $60 or $70 on your game. It's not that simple, but it kind of is.
Obviously, amongst fans, there's going to be some consternation over what seems to be a massive change in direction with the gameplay of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I've seen some folks point out that Dragon Age started as a CRPG spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, so Dragon Age going to a more action-oriented type of game is going to bother a lot of people and a lot of fans. Again, it would be easy for me to come and make this video and tell you that I'm fired up about this. I'm pissed. I'm ready to storm the gates of hell. But truly, I don't feel strongly enough about any of that. I'm sorry if that disappoints you. I want to see more of the game before I get bent out of shape about any one thing and render my judgment when we have more information. Though I can understand the concerns that Dragon Age is perhaps moving too closely to action, hack and slash combat.
Last thing I almost forgot, I feel stupid for forgetting this, was that there seemed to be this indication amongst the leaks, that even rumors, that Dreadwolf is looking more and more like a 2024 title than 2023. And if that's the case, it's another year away, but we'll probably get details soon. It's important, this game. I don't think that should be understated. I don't think BioWare goes away if this game is mid or even bad. Probably not. I think they have a little bit more time than that, I think. However, they really need another win. They bought some time with Legendary Edition, or some goodwill at least, and now they gotta cash it in here. So EA allowing them all this time to make it as good or as polished as it can be before its release is a good thing, because for this studio, a lot is riding on this. They can't mess it up. Kind of like Bethesda when it comes to Starfield, or at least Xbox when it comes to how Starfield comes out. Dragon Age is important. Dreadwolf is important to BioWare. I'm hoping for the best, but really I don't have any expectations, honestly. Dreadwolf does need to hit, and then after that, Mass Effect also needs to hit. Otherwise, I really think BioWare is just going to be kind of relegated to that Old Republic studio. There it is, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Interesting details to say the least. As I said, I feel pretty neutral about these leaks. I just want to see the official announcements and information and then render my judgment on them, but figured this seemed relatively reliable based on that small snippet of gameplay shared. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you're thinking. What are your thoughts? Because I want to hear what your thoughts are. Are you excited? Are you scared? Not interested? Maybe you just don't like YouTube at all and you were looking for a very specific video to voice it on. In that case, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions. Like, subscribe, whatever you need to do to get you through the day, and I'll see you all soon. If you're still watching this video, that's like very nice of you. I actually don't know how to say thank you beyond saying, hey, you see those two videos on screen? They were tailor-made just for you. They weren't actually tailor-made just for you, but I feel like if I just tell you that they were, you'll go, really? And then click on it, and then maybe you'll find another video you like. Maybe you'll end up subscribing. Maybe you'll do things that I wouldn't otherwise expect you to. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have no idea what I'm saying. I didn't write any of this down. I'm just going off. But thanks for watching the video, and if you got this far, I don't know what you're doing, but watch something else maybe. I don't know. Go somewhere else. Do something.